The micro, small and medium-scale enterprises have been described as the engine room for national economic growth and development. However, the sector is being challenged by several factors, including access to funding. My guest on this week's episode of the program talks about the government's step to encourage growth of the sector. Welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The police command in the Federal Capital Territory has been given account of its operations in the last 1 month. We'll give you details of that later in the program. In our interview segment this week, we'll look at the federal government's initiative to improve MSMEs. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital?
Minister of Labour and Employment Dr. Chris Ngige remained defiant to the demand of the Nigeria Labour Congress as he inaugurated the board of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. The board is headed by Mr. Austin Enejamo Isire. Meanwhile, the NLC, which had earlier queried the inauguration of the board after 2 years of delay, took to the street over the implementation of the new minimum wage. Meanwhile, the Trade Union Congress clashed with workers of the Transmission Company of Nigeria as the unionists attempted to picket the company. The president of TUC, Comrade Boboy Kaigama, led the exercise. They are accusing the management of the TCN of unfair labor practice, an accusation the managing director of the company has denied. The federal government is planning to hold a low-key inauguration ceremony to herald the second tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made this known to State House correspondents at a media briefing.
The decision to have a low-key inauguration for the President was taken at the meeting of the Federal Reserve Council on Wednesday, the 8th of May. Invitations have been sent to all world leaders to attend the ceremonies marking the observance of the Democracy Day on June 12. Since the first observance of June 12 as Democracy Day falls into an election year, and as a measure to sustain June 12 as Democracy Day, the celebration of the inauguration and the advancement of democracy in the country will now take place on June 12.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday met with former head of state General Yakubu Gowon and 5 governors at the presidential villa. He met them separately in his office. The governors include Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State, Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State, Governor Akinwumi Ambode of Lagos, and Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State. Also, the president met with Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo opened a high-level summit on anti-corruption with a challenge to agencies to synergize their operations in the fight against corruption and put together efforts to tackle the menace. The summit was organized in collaboration with Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption.
The final conclusion is that Nigeria's 2030 GDP can be up by at least $534 billion if we reduce corruption. So really it doesn't matter how much revenue a country makes or how transformative its plans are. If it allows corruption to thrive, this will ensure that the majority of people do not benefit from all of the revenues or all of whatever it is that the country is able to produce, or simply truncate the plans of the nation.
Our friends, family and civil society groups gathered at the Unity Fountain to commemorate the 16th birthday of the lone deputy girl still in Boko Haram captivity, Leah Sharibu. Leah was abducted with over 100 of her schoolmates from the Government Science and Technical College in Dapchi, Yobe State on the 19th of February 2018. While her mates were released about a month later, Leah is yet to be released for allegedly refusing to change her religious beliefs.
The government hasn't contacted the parents since the last time the president called her in October, when the mother, we had a press conference when Boko Haram threatened that they were going to kill Leah Sharibu. And after that conference, the president was able to call Leah's mom, which was the first time, and he assured Leah's mom that Leah will be set free very soon. But the very soon is over a year now.
Before we commence,
the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, hosted police chiefs from West Africa as the federal government seeks a closer regional cooperation to address the increasing security challenges in the sub-region. The meeting lasted for 3 days.
Today is a larger forum where all the other chiefs of security services will have to brainstorm and work in synergy with the police services within the region so as to fight the common crime that is bedeviling the sub-region. Crimes like crimes of terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, drug trafficking are all common crimes that are affecting the sub-region.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday broke his Ramadan fast with the leadership of the National Assembly. Among those present were the President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara. Others present include the President's Chief of Staff, Malam Abba Kyari, and Senate Majority Leader, Senator Ahmed Lawan.
Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate has cleared Mr. Godwin Emefiele as the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. President Buhari had forwarded his name to the Senate after he was appointed for a second term in office. The next day, Mr. Emefiele met with the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions. The committee later presented their report to the Senate in plenary, and that was approved.
Your Excellency, the Governor of
Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has set up a committee for the revival of the country's cotton, textile and garment industry, with a mandate to revive a minimum of 50 textile firms by 2023. The committee was inaugurated by the Governor of the Apex Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State, the Kaduna State Deputy Governor, Mr. Bala Barnabas, and the Jigawa State Deputy Governor, Mr. Ibrahim Hassan, were present at the inauguration.
Key challenges identified that are bedeviling the CTG subsector include the following: low cotton production, poor infrastructure, power and transport, obsolescence of existing production lines, smuggling and counterfeiting, inadequate local patronage, high cost of production, multiple taxation, among others.
The Federal Executive Council has approved another $1 billion Chinese loan. It will be sourced from the China Exim Bank for the Gurara 2 hydropower project. The power project is planned to generate 360 megawatts of electricity.
The first memo had to do with the need to exploit the potentials of the Gurara 2 hydropower project, which has a potential of 360 megawatts of electricity. Council approved for us to take this project to FOCAC for possible financing by the China Exim Bank at the cost of about $1 billion.
Meanwhile, the cabinet meeting extended into the next day, and Vice President Professor Emil Shibaju presided over the meeting in the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari. The president had left the country to honor an invitation from the government of Saudi Arabia for him to perform the Lesser Hajj.
2655.
The Senate has passed the Public Holiday Act Amendment Bill to recognize June 12 as a New Democracy Day. The bill was passed almost 1 year after President Muhammadu Buhari announced that the date would replace May 29 for Nigerians to commemorate the return to the civilian government. The Independent National Electoral Commission has postponed the governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states, earlier fixed for November 2nd, by 2 weeks. While announcing November 16 as a new date for the elections, the Commission said the timelines for all other activities leading to the elections had also been adjusted to align with the new date.